You're listening to the weekly Parsha podcast, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel, 5776, 2016. This week's Parsha, for those who live in Chutz La'aretz outside of Israel, is Parsha's Pinchas. And I'd like to share with you a thought on the idea of the nachla, the idea of the inheritance. Our Parsha speaks about the fact that the Jewish people had come to the end of their time in the wilderness. They were about to enter into the land of Israel, and they were about to receive the inheritance of the land of Israel, each according to the shevet, the tribe that they were part of. And there are actually three different aspects of the Parsha which are connected. First is the fact that there is this chalukah, this distribution that's going to be spoken of, that's going to happen in the future when they get to the land of Israel, when they conquer the land of Israel. The second thing is that we find that once Moshe Rabbeinu was speaking about the nachla, was speaking about the inheritance, the daughters of Tzelafchad, these unique women who were from the tribe of Joseph, of Yosef, they came and they said that we don't have any brothers, we don't want our father's name to be lost, we also have a right to have a piece of the land, to have our inheritance of the land of Israel. That's the second thing that happens over here. And the third thing that the Psukim speak about, that the Pasuk describes, is the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem to appoint someone who will take over for him, who will be his spiritual heir, who will take his spiritual inheritance and will lead the Jewish people into the land of Israel. And that's going to be Yehoshua ben Nun, Joshua. He's going to lead the Jewish people after Moshe Rabbeinu, after Moses passes on. Now, in reading the midrashim, as we go through these three different aspects of the Parsha, there's something beautiful, something amazing, something really deep that I'd like to share with you. It says like this. I'll read you the first midrash that I want to share. Zesh Amar Kosov. This is what it says in the verse. It's a verse in Mishlei in Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 18. Midyanim yashbis hagirl. When a person comes to use a girl, a lottery, so the result is that it will take away any kind of arguments that exist between the parties who are fighting over a certain inheritance. We find that before Jacob came and described to each person, each one of the Shvatim, each one of the forebears of the tribes, he described to each of them their place, their special spiritual characteristics. Before that point in time, so there was an argument, who would get to do what? Whose job was which job? What was the purpose of each individual in the Jewish people? But Yaakov came and he explains, Zvulun l'choif yam mishkan. Zvulun will live by the seaside. Yisachar revitz ben mishpasayim. Yisachar is crouched between the two rocks. There's a certain location where he's supposed to be. Asher shmein alachma. Asher, so he's in a place where the bread is fat, so to speak. It's a place that produces a lot of wheat. Ein lecha rishus l'chalik el al pi hagirl. There's no permission to distribute unless one is using a lottery. So it's not so clear exactly what the midrash is saying, but the basic idea the midrash is coming to say is that sometimes it's not clear whose purpose is what in the world, in life. But Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, in a certain sense, somehow, we need to understand this, but somehow he served through his Ruach HaKodesh, through his divine inspiration, in his description of the spiritual characteristics of each of his children, he was able to assign and point out the specific goal, the specific purpose that each of his sons engendered and were supposed to manifest in the world. And this was something that they could have argued about. There could have been lack of clarity. Yaakov was able to bring clarity to that. And it's very interesting that the way it's referred to in the Midrash is as a girl, as a lottery. Somehow, when we don't know what's the right thing to do, we flip a coin, people accept whatever the coin. If you say heads and it's heads, it's yours. If I say tails and it's tails, it's mine. It becomes clear or clarified through the lottery, through the girl. And the Midrash tells us that don't think that a lottery is random. There were miracles when it came to the lottery. And now we're going to switch to speaking about the land of Israel, the specific locations where the Jewish people were to be assigned. And it's clear that somehow the locations within Israel parallel the specific spiritual purpose of each of the individuals, the tribes, but also the individuals who were part of Klal Yisrael, part of the Jewish people. Elazar ben Ar Melubash Urim V'Tumim. This is what happened when the Jewish people came into Israel. In the verses in Joshua, it's described that there was a girl, that there was a lottery, and that's how it was distributed, the pieces of land that were specific to each individual tribe. So Elazar ben Aaron, He was the high priest. He came in and he was wearing the Urim V'Tumim, the special breastplate that had the special stones. And there was some form of Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, that was manifest through those stones. V'Kavi HaGar Lifnei Yehoshua. And he also brought in the pieces of paper that had on it the different locations, different parts of Israel that were going to be part of the lottery that would distribute those locations to the Jewish people. So Elazar comes in, and he comes in front of Joshua. Shneimar, as the verse says, the verse in Joshua chapter 18, verse 6, V'yarisi lachem girl poi lifnei Hashem, that I will bring a girl, a lottery, here in front of God. So we see from this verse that there were miracles. It was in front of God. It wasn't just random. It was something that somehow represented the will of God. Listen to the miracles that occurred. Before they would take out that piece of paper that would assign to a tribe that piece of land, Elazar Ame Baruch HaKodesh. So Elazar the Kohen, the high priest, he would say, with his divine inspiration, Garel Shevet Pliny Oile. He would say, the lottery, the piece of paper that has on it a certain tribe, the tribe of Ruvain, is coming up. That he's going to be able to take from a certain location. Yehoshua Poshet Yodav Oile. Yehoshua would stick out his hand, and up would come that ticket, that lottery ticket. Shenemar, we know that this is true because the verse says there in chapter 19, verse 51, Ila hanacholais asher nachalu Elazar Kohen Yehoshua Benun. These are the inheritances that were given to the Jewish people by Elazar the high priest and Joshua. So we see that both of them were involved in this process, and the midrash is telling us that the process went that first Elazar Kohen would know through Ruach HaKodesh what was about to happen, then Joshua would be involved and it would happen, and then that tribe would receive its portion. Now the midrash adds one more point, which is remarkable. This is what was even more so. As the paper would come up, it almost sounds like the paper would float up in the air, land in Joshua's hand. As it was on its way up, it would come up and it would say, it would yell out, Ani Goral Pliny Hashevet, Alisi Loy B'Makom Pliny. I am the portion, I am the lottery ticket for this particular tribe. I have come up for him, for this particular location. Uminayin Shaya Goral Medaber. Midrash says, how do we know that the lottery ticket would speak? Tichsiv, as the verse says also in Joshua chapter 26, verse 56, Al Pi HaGoral, which means through or via the lottery, but the language literally means by the mouth of the lottery. So we see that there was a mouth to this lottery. The lottery would actually speak. So we read this midrash. We need to understand, what is the midrash saying? Why do we need 4 different statements? Really, that's what we see. There are 4 different statements. Why do we need these 4 different statements of who or what the essence of each tribe is, or where they're going to receive their piece of land in Israel? We have Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, saying it to the tribes themselves, to the forebears of the tribes. We have Elazar HaKohen saying it before it comes up. We have Yehoshua sticking out his hand and being in charge of giving it out. And we have the actual girl itself, the lottery ticket itself, announcing to whom which portion is going to go. Why do we need these 4 different ways of saying it? What is this magical lottery ticket that's speaking, and what's going on? And if Yehoshua is going to pull it out of the piece of paper, why does Elazar HaKohen need to say beforehand? Does he need to prove that he knows already before he's got the inside information? He's got the divine inspiration? What is the meaning of this midrash? What is it trying to tell us? What is it teaching us? So before we answer these questions, I want to share with you a few more midrashim that will underscore the idea, the theme that I'd like to share with you, that I'd like to bring out. Midrash says, Vatikravna b'nai Tzelafchad. The daughters of Tzelafchad came, and they requested the portion which was rightfully theirs as part of the Jewish people, as women who didn't have any brothers to inherit, to maintain the family name, to maintain the family inheritance. Now the Midrash says, amazing thing. In that generation, the generation of the wilderness, the women were the ones who would close the gaps of what the men were creating problematic holes in observance, or holes in their relationship with God. What does this mean? Where do we see that? The midrash tells us we see that in 2 different places. We find that Aaron says to the Jewish people, this is talking about the story of the Maisa Egel, the golden calf. He says, Parku nizme hazav asher ba'oznei neshechem. He said, go back to your wives, ask them to take off their earrings, their nose rings, the gold that they have in their ears. V'lo ratzu hanashim. The women did not acquiesce to this. Umichu b'baleim. They protested to their husbands. Shenemar, the verse says, V'yisparku kol ha'am etnis ve'azav v'gomer. The verse tells us that the men themselves were the ones who used their own earrings. They didn't get them from their wives. Their wives weren't willing. Women were not involved in the golden calf. The men did it. The men created the hole. They created that gap in the service of God, that gap in their relationship with Hashem. The women closed the hole. The women were able to see that it's wrong, it's the wrong thing to do, and they were able to withstand the temptation of serving the idolatry. Amazing thing. Also in regards to the spies, they spoke negatively of the land of Israel. As a result, the entire congregation of the Jewish people were complaining. And a decree was placed upon the Jewish people. The decree was, they said, we can't go up, we're not going to be able to get into the land of Israel, we won't be able to inherit the land. As a result of that, they all had to die out. That entire generation had to die out. Amazing thing. Women were not part of this negative story, of this negative occurrence. They didn't make this hole. They closed the hole. They closed the gap. Parsha, it says above in the Parsha, meaning farther along, verse tells us, it's in this week's Parsha, that God said that they're going to die in the wilderness. Not a man was left, except for Kalev. Ish v'lo isha, the midrash tells us, only the men, not the women. The women were not involved in this sin. In regards to not desiring to come into the land of Israel, only the men had said, we don't want to come in. The women did not say that. We see, and this is not just true of the daughters of Tzelafchad, but it was true generally about the women of the Jewish people, that they had a desire, just like the Bnei Zelophehad, the daughters of Zelophehad came and said, we want our portion in Israel. All of the Jewish women also desired the land of Israel and were not involved in the sin of rejecting the land of Israel, which happened at the time of the spies. The midrash just finishes off, Lekach nichtava Parsha zeh samach lemisus dara midbar. That's why this Parsha of Bnei Zelophehad, the daughters of Zelophehad who are asking for the portion in Israel, is written right after we speak about the fact that we had the end of the dying, of the deaths of the people who were the generation of the wilderness. Why? It's teaching us Shemisham Partzu Hanoshim V'Godru Hanoshim. It's teaching us that the men had created this gap in the service of God, but the women had closed the gap. Now I want to understand, why indeed is it that the women were able to withstand these tests, to withstand the desire to serve this idolatry, to create the golden calf? Why were they able to withstand the test of rejecting the land of Israel? What is that special about women generally that enables them to withstand this type of test? I want to share with you another amazing and beautiful midrash, also in the story of the Bnei Tzelafchad, the daughters of Tzelafchad. It's just beautiful, and the message of it, the depth of it, is so touching. It says like this. It speaks about the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu, after the daughters of Tzelafchad asked him, what's going on? Can we have a portion of the land of Israel that our father's name should not be lost? So Moshe didn't know the answer, so he asked this question to God. Rish Lakish says that the truth is that Moses knew the law in regards to these women. He knew the answer to this question. So why did he go and ask God? The first thing that happened in this story, the Torah leaves out part of the story. Midrash fills in the gap. Originally, these women came to certain officers, certain judges, lower judges, and they said, what's the story? What's with us? What's going to be with us? Are we going to be able to get our farthest portion? Amru, they said, Din shal nachlesu. This has to do with inheritances. Ve'ein zeh shalanu, ela shel gedolim mimenu. This is something that we don't know. This is something that you have to go to someone greater than us. This is beyond what we are trained in understanding in Jewish law. So they came to higher up level of judges. So these higher level judges saw that the lower level judges had honored these women, had shown them respect. They said, listen, we could really judge this case, but we feel like you should go to someone who's greater than us. They respected them. The women came again to the higher up judges, and the higher up judges passed them. Finally they came to the princes of the tribes. They got the same response. No one felt comfortable answering this question. They sent it to someone greater than them. They came in front of Elazar HaKohen, the high priest. He said to them, this question you have to ask Moses. Everyone came in front of Moses. Moses saw that everyone had respected those who were above him. Moshe said, if I see the answer to this question, even though I know the answer to this question, I'll be claiming greatness for myself. Moses said, look, there's someone who's greater than me as well. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu Moses brought this question in front of God Himself. God responds and says, yes, the daughters of Tzelafchad are speaking correctly. They're saying the right thing. God agreed to what they said and said, yes, you shall give it to them. They are correct. They deserve to have the inheritance of their father's family. Here too, we read this midrash and we say, what is this midrash coming to say? What is it coming to teach us? What were they saying that was so fantastic, that was so amazing, that no one wanted to confirm or say it's wrong? Everybody just sent it to someone greater than them. Even Moshe and Moses himself, who knew the answer, he wasn't willing to say that they're correct. Rather, he said, let Hashem be the one to confirm what they're saying. What's the understanding? What is the midrash coming to teach us? The last of the three items, or three ideas, that I wanted to speak about in this Parsha is the concept of Moshe Rabbeinu Moses giving over, or asking God to appoint someone who will take over for his leadership position, and that was Yehoshua, Joshua. When Moshe Rabbeinu asks of God, he says, please, let there be someone. This is the verse, chapter 27, verses 15 and 16. Moses says to God, God, you are the one who understands all of the spirits. You understand the individuality, the individual koiches, the powers, the individual way that you manifest through each of the human beings in the world. Please, Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, please appoint someone who understands this as well. This is the midrash. Ish asher ruach boi, says the midrash, someone who has that spirit. Midrash says that he referred to God as the God of the spirits, the God who understands all of the individual capabilities. Moshe was saying, you understand, you know the spirit, the individual powers and abilities of each and every individual, of every single creation. Moshe requested of God, please appoint somebody who knows how to determine that. Each and every human being, what their individual capabilities are. That's what's needed. The Jewish people need a leader who understands every individual, who understands what they're here to bring to the world. And God said, okay, it's to be Joshua, and I want you to take your hands and place them on him. Midrash says, Kemadlik ner miner. The way that this was given over was like lighting a fire to a fire. V'nasata mehoitcha, and you shall give of your greatness, of your splendor, keme'orek mikli lekli, like pouring from one vessel to another, from one cup to another. I believe that we see from this midrash something amazing, and really from all of these midrashim, something incredible, something beautiful, something so deep. And it starts with this last point, the way that Moshe Rabbeinu was giving over to Yehoshua, his successor, his spiritual heir. He's giving over the leadership of the Jewish people. He gives it over as lighting one candle to another, or as pouring out from one cup to another. Moshe understands that Yehoshua is his spiritual heir. Yehoshua is someone who is receiving all that he has. He's receiving his spiritual inheritance, which Moshe Rabbeinu was and Yehoshua was, and that was the ability to guide and lead everyone in their specific purpose. But where does that come from? What's the power? Where does it stem from? It stems from Hashem Elokei Haruchos, that God is the one who understands every individual. Moshe is saying, please give a leader to the Jewish people who, like you understand every single individual. This leader needs to be somebody who is filled with that same understanding so he can lead them. He has the amazing intuitive capacity to put his finger on exactly who this person is and how they manifest God in the world. It's important to understand something fundamental, and we mentioned it before, but it's central to the idea here, and that is that an inheritance in the land of Israel is the place that the Jewish people fulfill their mission, fulfill the mitzvahs. The commandments themselves ideally are meant to be performed in Israel. There are certain commandments that can only be performed in Israel, but the commandments themselves are made to be performed in Israel, and that means that the Jewish people manifests their purpose in the land of Israel. And when we speak about getting a nachla, an inheritance, a piece of the land of Israel, it really is speaking about the Jewish person's ability to manifest godliness in the world. If I have a piece of land in Israel, it means that I have a piece of manifesting God in the world. Now, when the women, the daughters of Tzelafchad, they come to the Sari HaAsaros, they come to the low-level judges, and they say, we want to manifest godliness in the world. We want that piece of land in Israel. The Sari HaAsaros recognized that their intuitive faculty, and it's specifically women who are coming and doing this, who have the Bina Yaser, they have the deeper intuitive faculty. They were connecting to the godliness, the spark of godliness that was within them. So the Sari HaAsaros, these lower officers, they recognized that this is something you can't touch, you don't mess with. This is something that's got to go back to a higher source. And so they sent them to the higher judge. And the higher judge recognized the same thing and respected that they were speaking godliness. There was, Hashem was speaking through their mouth, saying, I want to manifest godliness in the world. And on until they came to Elazar HaKohen, to the high priest, and until they came to Moshe himself, to Moses himself. And Moses said, no, I got to go back to God. And God says, yes, they're speaking correctly. Their intuition is correct. They have the intuitive ability to sense what their mission is in the world. And that's what's being expressed when they say, I want a piece of Israel. And notice that they progress through all of these different layers of different types of people, judges, guides, and everyone is just sending them back to God, to something higher, to the root of it all. And God confirms, yes, you've got it right. You're going in the right direction. You're heading based on your spiritual intuition, and it's correct. You're right. And it's not a mistake when the midrash tells us that the men, they didn't have that sense of purpose properly. There was something off in the way that they approached their relationship with God. When they went back to the source, if something was missing, if the Moshe Rabbeinu, the guide, was missing, they created an idol, a replacement for God in a certain sense. But the women remained steadfast to their intuitive understanding that it's Hashem, it's only Hashem. And when the Jewish people said no, when the men said no to manifesting in the land of Israel, they said, we can't do it. We can't manifest in the world. The women said, no, we can manifest in the world. They closed that spiritual gap. They were able to connect to their intuitive faculty, that amazing ability that women have. And they were able to connect to the will of Hashem. And that's expressed by this midrash when it tells us that the daughters of Tzelafchad came because really all of the women were able to recognize their purposes and how it could manifest in the nachla, in the inheritance of the land of Israel, through their intuitive faculty. And that brings us back to the first midrash that we quoted. We said that Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, he spoke about it. And then Elazar HaKohen, Elazar the high priest, he guessed what was going to happen through his divine inspiration. And then Yehoshua pulls it out and it comes up. And then even the girl itself, the lottery ticket itself, is saying, I am for this particular tribe. What's the understanding of it? And I think that the depth of what this midrash is teaching us is that every individual, specifically tribes, generally, but also every single individual has a specific, unique purpose, a special way of manifesting Hashem in the world. And it's something that if you tap in to the divine inspiration, to a spiritual intuition, it's possible to get to the place of understanding what it is that you are supposed to do. And all those who tap in correctly are going to find the same thing. It's going to come from a Yaakov Avinu when he's describing the locations of the tribes, way back when he's speaking to the forebears of the tribes. It's going to happen when Elazar HaKohen, who's the leader of the Jewish people, he's the Kohen, he's the high priest, he's the one who creates that bond, that relationship between Hashem and the people of the Jewish people. He's going to be able to understand it and intuit it as well. And it's going to be something that Yehoshua, the leader of the Jewish people, is able to intuit and understand. And it's something that the purpose itself, the lottery ticket, represents the inheritance itself. It represents the way that the person manifests his koiches, he manifests his unique abilities in the world. That itself speaks to the person. When a person wants to know, what am I supposed to do in the world? What is my special purpose in the world? The answer is, look at what you're doing. Hashem leads a person through many different ways to their unique purpose, to their unique place in life. Sometimes it becomes clear from someone who's guiding them, and sometimes it becomes clear because that's what they're doing. That's where Hashem has guided them. And if they're focused and trying their best with their spiritual intuition to do Hashem's will, to do God's will, to manifest God in the world, they can be assured, I believe that this midrash is saying, they can be assured that they're going to find God's will and they're going to manifest godliness in the world. And I believe that it's underscored by the fact that the midrash is telling us that the women were able to hold on to that. They were able to stay connected to godliness in the world because they had that spiritual intuition and they were able to remain connected to it. And as Hashem says, Cain, b'nai Tzelafchad divers, they are speaking correctly. They were able to understand that. And the men who they came to in asking, is this the right thing, were able to respectfully back off and say, you guys, you got something special going on. You have your ability. You have your spiritual intuition. That's an amazing statement. It's an amazing statement that we have the ability, if we truly try. Of course, we need to ask. We need to get guidance. We need to make sure that we're on the right track, as the b'nai Tzelafchad did, as the daughters of Tzelafchad did. But it's possible to tap into Hashem's will by connecting to our spiritual intuition. I want to bless you, and please bless me, that Hashem should help us. That Hashem should help us to be able to seek His guidance, to seek what His will is. Hashem should help us to be able to find it. And Hashem should give us the istapkus, the recognition, the understanding that indeed what we are doing, where Hashem has guided us to, what we are trying to manifest in the world is indeed a manifestation, truly, of Hashem's will. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos. This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.